what the Marines are playing for here. Win in under 57 minutes against the Flash Wolves.
All right, Kennen being banned away. I keep disagreeing with that ban just because I don't think Stark actually showed almost anything on that champion, but could be from scrims as well, where he has been dominating on it.
Yeah, I thought his Gragas and his Galio were both very good and should be highly prioritized.
Agree, 100% agree. Like the Ziggs ban here, does remove a lot of the playmaking from Slay. Now I want to look at a jungler here, because whenever Gigabyte Marines pick Graves, I actually feel like Levi doesn't do almost anything. When he plays Kha'Zix, however, he's won all his games here during the group stage, and he's been way more impactful and way harder to play against. So if he has to choose between the two, I know Graves is valued higher, but I actually want to see the Kha'Zix from him.
Yeah, I actually did like, so even though it was against SKT and they obviously ended up losing the game, he did go pretty proactive with the Graves in that one and chalk up a bunch of kills as well. But yes, I mean, you got to look for the very highlight, moments for him, and those have been on Kha'Zix.
Flash Wolves might then feel like they want to take Graves' first pick here because of the Lee Sin ban. They're going with the Lulu though, so they're trying again to challenge Gigabyte Marines to pick between Graves and the Kha'Zix, and Gigabyte Marines, because it is Karsa they're against, might feel forced to take Graves.
Yeah, Lulu has almost always been first pick if left up, here by the blue side.
Such an important pick. The Karma is still up and available as well, something we've talked so much about all tournament long. The Marines, second game today. They played earlier and lost to Team WE in fairly one-sided match, actually. They got a couple early kills, but didn't have their traditional strong early game that we've kind of come to expect from the Marines, and they're going to lock in their Galio.
I think they made, this lane swap again, and while they got 2 kills from it, they fell super far behind in CS, both top lane and bot lane, which then cost them experience in the long run, so they couldn't actually play early game after their swap. We like the Galio though, top. It's such a strong pick right now.
Definitely agree. I think the Flash Wolves might go towards the Gragas in their first round on the backswing of this to try and grab it before more top lane bans do. Oh, never mind. Yeah, it was first banned out by them. So they're going to have to go with another option here. And yeah, that's a very good early pick there for GAM.
Good adaptation here for Slay as well. He lost the Varus in the ban phase last time around. It is available for him. Flash Wolves take the Graves. This means the Kha'Zix might come in from Gigabyte Marines, and that is where we see them really unleash the jungle.
I am quite excited about that if Levi can get his hands on that Kha'Zix. LeBlanc locked in for Maple. I'm also interested when you run into this Galio. Fizz is gone, Gragas is gone. I mean, Shen is still up and available. Nautilus, I suppose, as well, but maybe the carry matchups that maybe MMD could or would or might want to play.
I think MMD is a player that really does value tank versus tank matchups. And a lot of people have talked about that. He does feel more comfortable in those, especially since Fizz and Kled have already banned out and have been the other options. But there you go. The Kha'Zix does come through once again for Levi.
Gives some hope here for the Gigabyte Marines and their jungler to really try and carry the game. We have seen some insane performances on this specific champion. AShe is a very likely ban right now against Betty, and also because they have the Varus picked already. I would at least like to see that next time.
And one of the reasons we're highlighting Galio and Kha'Zix so much, I also really love the way they work together. Kha'Zix is so good at getting into a good position, diving in, then using his ultimate for invisibility to buy time for Galio's heroic entrance on top.
Also, that could be a support, Galio. I'm just throwing it out there. Marines have shown some explorative supports throughout the course of MSI and the play-ins. Rumble is still up and available, something else that I'm looking at. So MMD has played 8 times this year already. A lot of experience. Syndra is the ban towards Optimus, so now Optimus is running out of some options into this LeBlanc.
Exactly. Zed is, a champion he's played before, but with so much physical damage already, and no Rumble being picked and even banned away, then that seems very unlikely. Ari, possibly for a skill matchup. A skill matchup in favor of LeBlanc, though, just to add that part, especially early on in the laning phase, is an option as well, because Optimus is a guy he did really well earlier, but he's actually been struggling the last 2 days, and you don't want to put him in a bad matchup now.
Yeah, definitely been under pressure, and there's the Ari removed away, so one of the potential options. So Marines have to show their hand. Very slow pace during this pick and ban. Of course, for the Marines, their post-group lives on the line, and it's much the same for Flash Wolves.
I mean, yeah, we're on the last day, baby. Yeah. Every game counts here. All right, yeah, so MMD and Optimus are really the two that have kind of taken the hit here as far as the second ban phase does come through. But it looks like they're going to retain their shroud of silence here from the Marines and not reveal yet.
I think banning or leaving AShe open is a bit of a mistake. I think it is definitely the best AD carry pick for Betty down the bot lane, a guy who's not been performing too well himself.
Yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of Jhin, and that's the next one that he does jump to as far as his personal tier of champions that he has been preferring.
Now obviously top lane needs to be shown. Nautilus is the very safe one right now if you don't want to risk anything. Galio is already confirmed as the top laner. Now Fiora is of course a pick a lot of people talk about as a counter matchup, but do you really want MMD to be the man who pulls it out? No, it is going to be the safe one.
Yeah, once again, I think he feels so much more at home in the tank versus tank matchups, where everybody gets to build rings, and that will be the case here. All right, what's it going to be, Optimus? What do you have in store for this LeBlanc? Kassadin is an option that I have seen before and still available.
Rise is another option. He's not played any of those two champions here during MSI. Lissandra he used once. Did get some buffs here on this patch, but she's still extremely hard to execute.
Yeah, very slight buffs. 0.1 maybe AP scaling.
One game played, 100% win-loss, and a 17 KDA. What do you think of it into this LeBlanc? And now we see the Gigabyte Marines team composition come together. Hey, Glacial Tomb, and then you can just have Starhawk's Galio jumping in before or after that.
Yeah, I mean, the combinations look really impressive, and those are the things that always go through your head with this team. The Marines are all about their mid-game, combining the multiple ultimates. And remember, you know, Optimus did play this Lissandra versus LeBlanc versus Supermassive to get into this stage of the tournament.
And that's the key thing. If Gigabyte Marines in the mid-game are at least even, then their all-in engage comp will make a lot of sense and be hard to play against. All-in engage comps though, when if they do fall behind, it'll be so damn useless because you're like, we want to hard engage, but we don't actually want to fight because we're really far behind. And then you can't really do anything. But Gigabyte Marines, they don't think about that. Like, they're not going to say, oh, what if we fall behind? They're like, no, we're going to get ahead. And that's how we can use our comp.
Gigabyte Marines have really shown up this group stage. They've taken a game of everybody except SKT and now Flash Wolves. Will this be the time? Will the Marines advance? If they do it in 57 minutes, if they win, they advance. They get that pool 1 seed for the GPL for the first time in professional League of Legends history. And
I honestly do not see a Gigabyte Marines game going longer than 50 minutes. Anyway, so, all right, it is going to be exciting here. Let's get onto the Rift as soon as possible.
Lissandra pick. Old school counter to LeBlanc, where back in the days when a lot of LeBlanc's damage was from the distortion, you know, she would jump in, land the damage from the distortion, you could just press W as Lissandra, you would snare her, you would ult her, you would just burst her down with your team. LeBlanc is much more poke focused right now though, and doesn't need to W into the face of the enemy.
Yeah, even so, LeBlanc still has to wait for, you know, the channel of that passive currently, and it could be a good interruption even later in 5-on-5s.
We'll have to see when we get there. The Marines don't tend to give you a lot of time to figure out the state of the game. Definitely like to be proactive. They've got double teleports as well. That's going to enable them. It is matched by the Flash Wolves, of course. MMD and Maple going to have the options to do the same. And it doesn't look like any lane swap shenanigans. They've done that, what, 3 times already this group stage?
Yeah,
even this time.
Definitely not needed with Varus Nami as your bot lane. Kind of defeats the purpose of picking the Nami, as she really shines in that laning phase. But interesting enough as well, Graves for Karsa. Like, we know it's such a good pick. But when he's been playing that Graves and when other junglers are playing him, like, so often it's about you. Like, you're the man getting fed. You're the man who then needs
You're the badass.
You're the badass. And the problem then is when Karsa's been doing this, MMD has struggled because he didn't get any help. The bot lane would have then maybe died to a gank or in a 2v2, won't get any help. And then Flash Wolves have fallen really far behind because Karsa couldn't really assist his lanes while he's farming on Graves. But of course, if they can just have standard laning, it's going to be fine.
And it has kind of seemed like MMD up in the top lane has been a bit of a trap for the Wolves. Even when Karsa did try and camp for him, not a lot gained out there, and it actually took away from his pressure on the other side of the map. So we shall see how they deal with it this time around.
Which lane they're going to prioritize. All right, taking a look at the assignments in the early push. Actually a lot of wave clear on really every single side of this map, so no room for error when it comes to deciding when and where you want to go forward.
And I am definitely looking at that top lane possibility here, as it is a blue buff start for Levi, not going with the Raptors' extra experience on this Kha'Zix. He will be ending or having the possibility of ending right up there.
And Levi has liked to just farm on Kha'Zix, get level 6 before he really joins the team. He's so often looking for the 1v1s, more than he's necessarily looking for a gank on the Kha'Zix. The same thing can be said, obviously, for Karsa on Graves. You have to respect the red buff and what he can do, level 3, level 4.
All right, great hawk shot there from Betty, revealing the jungle cleared out by the Marines. Some information that the Fractals can use to discern Levi's path and decision. He cleared out the Raptor camp, making his way to the Brambleback. As you can see, Karsa on the opposite left-hand quadrant doing similar to what's from Blue.
And jungling is all about judging the current state of the game and adapting currently. The top lane not trading heavily, so that should be an indicator that the junglers will just continue to farm here as Karsa takes down the Scuttle Crab.
So, yeah,
You did
those
it.
mechanics.
You did it!
A little bit of jumps back and forth, a Justice punch to the face for MMD.
Karsa here for a lane gank, but also trying to maybe counter gank Levi.
Yeah, I talk about the trading. It has started to come in.
Edge line's already been used. Karsa's going to be able to dash forward, does indeed. End of the line comes out, where red buff is ticking, flashes away from Star.
Yeah, so I like this move from Karsa. He stays around in flash auto attack range, forcing Karsa to go for the early flash.
Exactly. You have to respect it there because if he flashes for the auto's in the air, you can't reactively flash and you die anyway.
Luckily for Stark, though, he actually got to kill a few minions. Now he goes back and TPs to lane anyway. He did ever lose the flash. That is the key thing. And this early on in the game, you're not that tanky with your double Doran's ring. Graves can return.
Also, Graves didn't have to use the blast cone, so you have to be worried here if you are a Levi about repeat ganks there. They don't have any extra vision, so he is waiting around for a little bit while the camps respawn.
See what happens with Levi here. A little bit of pressure as MMD's making his way up. He did not teleport. Going to save that one down as Stark has already used his into lane.
Yeah, it's mostly a defensive move, as we said, by Levi. He's waiting around for the repeat gank. As you can see, Karsa is continuing to farm, and he doesn't show up. So as soon as the wave is fully shoved, that means you can recall as a jungler because the turret is going to push it back.
With this composition here, Gigabyte Marines, they can't really force too much early on. But that's not really been a problem for us because we've actually seen in quite a few games recently how they would go even in the early laning phase, but then once the mid game hits, that's where they start roaming and starting fights.
Exactly. Yesterday, very big for them. Not against Team WE as well. Farming all working out very decently so far. We just have to keep in mind the flash cooldown for the top lane as a point that maybe you'll see some extra vision being lended to Stark's aid.
We're starting to see level 6s on the horizon. MMD, Stark, Optimus, and Maple very close to unlocking that. We talked about a little bit earlier how both sides have got quite ridiculous wave clear actually. But then you also look at it, both sides have got a ton of crowd control that they can work with to set up any of these plays.
And a lot of that crowd control does come from the mid lane. Now, as a jungler, working around mid lane level 6 is a very big breakpoint in the game. If you can communicate with your laner to shove the wave on your level 6 wave and have the ability ready before the enemy mid laner, then that completely destroys any sort of 2 versus 2.
No way from able to get out of a Lissandra ulti. That's why he's respecting the fact that he doesn't actually have vision of the enemy Kha'Zix. He steps back, takes the wave. He's smart playing. It's small things, but it's very important. A lot of mid laners tend to still go forward and maybe look for a little trade, then they get caught and die to a game.
Exactly. And keep in mind as well, when you are messing around with these level 6 mid laners, more often than not, you can focus the jungler in the 2 versus 2 scenario if they both do show up, as they will be lower level, will be easier to take down.
And Lissandra is such an interesting champion because like pre-level 6 will not really do anything. Hit level 6 and suddenly you actually have a lot of pressure because of your ulti. And then that will kind of continue for the mid game and early late game where you also have a lot of burst potential. But then once you get later into the game, you build Hourglass, your damage kind of runs out a little bit and you become more of a zoning tool.
Exactly, and they're building right into those paths, right? LeBlanc's super early defensive Merc treads to deal with the ultimate and all the CC that Lissandra does bring to that gank. So he's just looking to get out of the gank alive, whereas Lissandra accentuating her strengths here with the extra burst damage from Hextech.
So Proto Bell to add a bit more mobility and burst to a kit. Very easy to get in melee range where you can hit multiple bolts.
That's what the Marines are going to be looking for. We're in an even game, 7 minutes in. This is just Farmville, basically. even across every single lane. No advantages garnered yet. I'm going to reiterate, no matter the result, we will have tiebreaker games. If Flash Wolves win, we'll have one game between them and TSM. For that 4th seed, G2 will take 3rd. If the Marines win in under 57 minutes, we will have 2 games played, and that will be between TSM, G2, and the Marines themselves, meaning the Marines will eliminate Flash Wolves. Take away that pool 1 seed. That would be a stunning result to end what has been an incredibly amazing MSI for the Marines.
Exactly, especially, you know, a GPL team taking away 1st seed from the LMS.
And from either Europe or North America.
Yes.
As well, which will obviously be extremely interesting.
For the historians that, you know, maybe are not aware, of course, the GPL teams removed from the LMS not too long ago. This is, you know, not only a redemption for TSM, redemption for G2, this is a redemption for the GPL, for the Marines, for Vietnam, where, you know, they're really sending a gigantic message. We can hang with the big boys.
I think they already sent the message. You know, this tournament.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Winning 3 games is more than we normally see from one team from the emerging regions, and actually being close in almost every single game, except for maybe some of the SKT games where they fell behind very far. But every other game, it's actually been impossible to predict who would win, Gigabyte Marines or some of the other teams.
All right, interesting history lessons, boys, but we are starting to see some deep wards come through.
What does that mean?
That is always the first step for invades, because here they come. Control ward as well. Right now, it's just a feint towards the bottom side, and you can see the defensive reaction from Flash Wolves.
But Professor Kobe, what happens after the deep vision and the invades? Which side is most likely to set something up?
Trying for something here with the top laners teleports being available. First one to the jump actually would have a huge advantage. Look at this invade from Karsa, though. He's going to find Stark, who is checking the red.
Stark not only moving down to check red, but also to be in range for a potential mid-fight without using TP, because we actually saw both junglers around it.
Should be a dragon here in exchange for this red steal. Stark did get vision of Karsa. They know that all of the resources have been committed, and yes, good reaction. These intelligent reactions here from the Marines.
And of course, the Marines have shown growth even throughout the last 5 days. The first 2 days, they showed lacking mid-game macro. That was all turned around when they took down Team WE, and it was a clean game. The first time they played Flash Wolves, they almost won the mid-game, but they were unable to push it forward and unable to go down. So, Marines get first dragon, first tiles available here for Flash Wolves.
And the bottom lane of Flash Wolves still has to be a bit cautious. They just heard the Drake, you know, go down there in the global noise, so that should keep them on their toes with their double teleports to be ready to answer.
See Lissandra right now. They know everyone is on bot. A good arrow.
Very good indeed. That will buy some time. SwordArt's the target. He's holding onto his flash. Gets caught up by the Frozen 2. The damage comes out. He manages to wild go to stay alive. Here comes Maple, who teleported in. The Marines give up first blood. They give up second blood. They're not done yet. Slay has flashed in.
No one is dying.
Gets shot. Knocks him into the air. That's 3 for the element. That's 3.
That could be an ace.
Flash Wolves. That's a triple kill for Betty and the ace after a quadra to close it out.
In a 4 versus 5, a bit too telegraphed. We said they had to be ready with a double teleport, and they assuredly were.
So they knew Lissandra was at the dragon. They have a ward already. Great arrow for Betty. SwordArt, he baits out so many cooldowns before flashing. It's actually extremely smart play from him.
And a little bit slow on the Galio ultimate. Doesn't arrive in time. They're caught between 2 turrets at this point, and this is when chaos breaks out. You have Slay flashing forward for the kill on the support, and there's no battle lines here for the Marines. Very good counterattack from Flash Wolves.
It's now a 4,000 gold lead for Flash Wolves at 11 minutes.
Oh, it's going to extend as SwordArt and Maple run down Optimus. That 4,000 gold lead, 1,000 of it is in Betty's hands, and he's already got Ninja Tabite to complement the Blade of the Rune King.
Read like a book here. Flash Wolves completely ready, and as you said, Deficio, this is a giant early game lead.
Oh, SwordArt, playing it smart. Karsa is actually around him as well, but the double TP from Flash Wolves, which is disrespected right there. Gigabyte Marines thought they could burst down one guy. You have to also remember, when Lissandra goes in with the Kha'Zix, your dual lane is not there yet. They're still running from, of course, behind the tower to try and get to you. So this went all in because he saw Karsa top lane. He's like saying, guys, baited. I got this.
Calculated indeed. Flash Wolves, gigantic lead. They got tower first blood. They got 6 kills, 4 of which are in Betty's hands. He just managed to clean up and clean house against the Marines. GAM went ham, but they exploded and went kablam. I mean,
funny story. Jam set up a little quiz in the caster room before we started here, saying which 2 players have not picked up a kill before 15 minutes. One of them was Betty, and now he sits on 4 kills.
I was leading up before Slate fires out the chains of corruption. Betty still has flash available. Steps out the Ash Arrow. Archie's able to flash to safety. Wild Drugs keep Betty alive even longer. Finally goes down to an ice shot by Optimus. End of the line comes out. Optimus is going to use that protobell forward before he gets the kill.
They're still coming! Maple heading down mid lane, Stark heading him off in the river. Will they be able to cover the escape?
Well, Stark's trying to use that passive to block up a flash forward from Maple. Gets some damage down before backing out. The Glacial Bot takes Optimus to safety for now. The winds of war are flying across the Marines, and SwordArt is on a killing spree. Now Stark is locked down by the chain. SwordArt and Maple continue trading, and he escapes the Glitter Lance.
Once again, Gigabyte Marines are forcing a play while one guy from Flash Wolves is sitting top lane pushing. I'm not even sure why Stark was down here in the end and giving that tower over now to MMD, but that doesn't matter. It's the fact that Gigabyte Marines lose more kills.
Exactly. Flash Wolves, cool, calm, and collected in the face of these dives. Betty flashes the bubble, hits the arrow, gets the Lulu ultimate, and deals out a tremendous amount of damage while stalling. Then we have Maple coming down to pick up an extra kill.
Of course, there was Stark. Questions about why he was there. Deficio, we may never know.
Well, he tried to help the team, but it was way too late. Now this Graves, remember, has been farming for 13, 14 minutes, not been really joining a fight. Karsa walks there, and the first one he enters, he's already strong, and he gets a kill and 2 assists.
Well, Flash Wolves are sending a pretty big message with this game. You step back and you look at it, Betty 4-1 and 3. He's actually been one of the players that has been struggling a little bit yesterday. Had the unfortunate camera on him when he missed a whole lot of CS on the tower, and this is actually very important because if the Flash Wolves win, they play TSM at the end of the day.
Hotline, baby.
Tiebreaker. Stark gets turned into a little critter. SwordArt continues to tank up, and Flash Wolves make this dive look pretty easy, but it is a tank that you are diving. Stark survives thanks to that idol of Durand and just his natural beefiness.
Yeah, fun little fact as well. The other player on that quiz, Deficio, was MMD, as we guessed, and he has been gotten through this early game very, very free. Big CS lead for this Nautilus, one of the champions that he likes to be on. Meanwhile, down bottom, they're still going pretty hard.
Man, Stark really is the target here, but Archie's a much juicier target. Collateral damage chunks him down as well. SwordArt, Maple, gonna get support from MMD. Will he get a free 15 kills? Stark gets the Justice Punch to the face. It's Archie down, MMD secures it, and Karsa gets the second.
Gigabyte Marines are trying something mid lane, but Betty already stepped away from that tower. Will at least get some gold, but there's 7,000 gold down right now at 16 minutes.
Flash Wolves have pulled out way too many outnumbered counterplays. That's where all this gold is coming from, and that's why they're able to now make the offensive moves on the other side.
And we saw one of those adaptations this game we kind of wanted to see from the teams. React well to some of the aggressive plays from Gigabyte Marines. Teleports were saved by Flash Wolves. They didn't use them back to lane. They kept them. They were like, yeah, you know what? We can just walk back to lane. We're even in CS. It's fine. We're ready for an aggressive play. Because obviously the Lissandra combos we talked about earlier wants to force plays here in the mid game. And the reaction with double TP was just perfect. Obviously Gigabyte Marines over diving as well. But when a team makes a mistake, it takes another team to then punish them in order to get the reward.
Exactly. The bar is being raised. Even though you can make a play 5 versus 4 with your numbers advantage, still have to have that execution or else it can blow up extremely big in your face.
And that's exactly where Marines find themselves, with a poorly executed dive that has put them in this gigantic hole. We're getting closer to 20 minutes, and it already feels like this is a lead that will be insurmountable. Luckily, the play-by-play line of wave clear here for the Marines is pretty good in their side. And they've got a couple teleports to work with. Let's see how they handle this. Slay gets chunked down by Maple, who, by the way, has 9 stacks on that Dark Seal. He's going to get rooted in place, locked down by the tomb.
Did you miss count, Trevor?
Damn it, damn it! Cast a curse. Call it out, but they got 5. All right, so Maple's life in a few stacks, but they get their 3rd tower.
Yeah, they sacrificed the bot lane tower because it was already low, just to go mid lane and try and make that play. So they kill Maple, get something again. And the Gigabyte Marines, they will not stop fighting, but as we also talked about in Champ Select, when you have this all-in engage comp, it looks so good when you're even or ahead, because you can actually force these fights and win them. When you're this far down, oftentimes when you're hard engaged, when you're all in, the enemy team wants you to do it, because they want to fight you with their big advantage anyway.
A pretty good reactionary comp as well. Grave, Lulu, Nautilus, pretty good playing backwards if they want to. The kite and fight style. Dragon number 2, another cloud. We've got a few clouds in our 2 games so far. This time picked up by Flash Wolves. Marines secured that one earlier by Levi. And it just feels like Marines, they need to find skirmishes where maybe this gold lead as a team can be less effective. And that also means having teleport advantage potentially, or finding Flash Wolves alone or in smaller numbers.
Also, finding those engages you're looking for, finding those plays you're looking for, Trevor, become more and more difficult the more vision that the Flash Wolves get. Because if you thought they were ready for the plays before, now they have deep vision in your jungle and they can see any movements ahead of time.
Oh, Mabel, he lost 4 stacks in that Dark Seal.
You're still sad about that? Deficio, you're living in the past.
Yeah, but Kobe, this happens a lot. Disappointed dad Deficio comes out.
He had 9 stacks on it, almost 10. And then he lost it.
Yes.
That just randomly pops into your brain 5 minutes later.
5 minutes? Come on, it's been a minute.
Let's take a look to see.
You clearly don't know what 5 minutes is.
Well, a sense of time when casting with you two just goes out the window. Time flies when you're having fun. Meanwhile, the Flash Wolves are probably
when you're having fun.
The Marines are trying to invade. Kobe's trying to make a point, Deficio, because the Flash Wolves are ready for it. They're waiting. Remember all that?
Back on track, boys.
Remember all that vision? Flash Wolves knew about it. They were anticipating it.
Oh, they're killing Karsa.
That actually gets caught down. They don't anticipate the damage. Finally goes down. Levi's able to flash away to stay alive, but Slay way on the front line. He overflashed, that's for
MMD!
sure. MMD has arrived, flashed in. Levi still alive until Maple takes him down. That's a double kill. Stark's now running for his life. Wins the wall, buying some time. Can he flash the wall? He made it. Maple's in trouble, but he's going to keep chasing Archie. Archie's able to get under the tower and survive. It's Betty with his 5th of the game.
Oh, Optimus. Sick recall mechanics. Mid lane tower, though, it's going to go down.
Yeah, and I love how Slay is still like, I want in there. Me too. Everybody's in. Flash forward. Flash Wolves, though, are able to turn this one around, even though they lose the main man, Karsa. Going to be able to get multiple objectives after the turnaround as well.
Can't end the fight as an AD carry with Flash up. Better use it aggressively then. Slay's back, though.
He's got no flash, which means he may not want to end the fight. Bubble catches MMD, but not in time. And as Betty and MMD escape, 5 towers secured for the Flash Wolves. There's a replay of what looked good at the start, but just took so long to kill Graves after True Grit to Wild Growth.
Yeah, just the fact that Karsa actually got a bit of his damage off was enough to force Levi out of the fight, and now the rest was coming in. MMD with the flank. Great setup, and despite Stark, trying to buy a bit of time for his team, you have no damage now.
Yeah, not only the setup is a huge part there, but also the gold advantage that they've been able to spend their money on already. There's just huge stats advantages right now for Flash Wolves. Quick, Deficio, how many stacks does he have now?
10! What a beast. And now Gigabyte Marines are looking for more fights.
They are indeed. The path was not followed, though. Optimus, 3-1-8. Oh, by the way, looking at KDA's here, 3-0-11 for SwordArt. Every single kill has happened around him.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the Marines dove bottom, and on this Lulu,
exactly.
Pivotal. I mean, a redemption already at this stage with either watcher.
Yet he has gone unscathed. 0.
And he's been playing perfectly. Like, he was baiting down the bottom lane at the first fight, Optimus is trying to disengage with his E.
Yeah, but you can't outrun the mine once it's locked on. Heroic entrance comes down for Stark. It buys enough time for the Hourglass. Archie on the back end. He's already killed. That's the first one SwordArt has missed. Now Optimus is running for his life.
Stacks!
Play gets a kill onto Maple as he loses the stacks and disappoints Deficio.
Ah, it is sad. Flash rolls, win another fight. Archie getting that poor feeling as a support, especially Nami when you're on a losing team. I've been there very often, and you just can't do anything in fights. On the losing team, as the Nami, you can't do anything because every fight is someone just one-shotting you.
Gotta give some kudos here to the Flash Wolves, bouncing back from their loss earlier today and really just, well, they're obliterating Marines. I mean, look at this again, another team fight. Of course, 10K gold up, so hello.
No one knows that. If you just tune in right now, this is dead even in gold. Greatly executed team fight by Flash Wolves. Maple gets one kill. Then actually a little bit too accurate. We get to see why Lissandra works against LeBlanc, because he actually used that distortion into melee range.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a worthwhile death, even though he does lose some of the stacks. He also got assists afterwards, so gets a couple back there, and Flash Wolves completely taking over the map. Remember the map that we keep talking about, the deep boards that they are now getting, is definitely going a long way towards assuring the end game for themselves.
This is not the end of the day for Flash Wolves. If and when they close this game out, tiebreaker versus TSM, G2 will secure third. If you're a European LCS fan, and you want Flash Wolves to not throw at Baron, not throw in the late games, that means G2 will advance to face Team WE next week here in Rio. And also re-secure that pool 1 seed, because of course G2 and 8 last year cost Europe that pool 1 seed.
Yes, they did.
Just loaned it for a while.
Ash Arrow tags Levi on the back end. But the chains do not find their targets, and Flash Wolves, look, they've got inhibitor towers to knock over. It feels fairly trivial, but do Flash Wolves play this one safe and maybe set a vision and play Baron, force Marines to come to them?
I mean, yeah, you might as well. You can just use it again to start a fight. You don't have to actually risk, you know, a 50-50 smite or anything. Just start it, disengage when Gigabyte Marines show up. There's enough ability on things like LeBlanc and Brave to get over that wall and actually just burst someone down.
The one thing I will say for that is you have to be ready to pull off of the Baron.
Oh, yes.
So that you don't get caught up in all this AoE and combo Marines. But here come the Marines. You don't even have to bait Baron for them to start it.
You don't. Maple gets locked down by the Ring of Frost. Wild Growth buys a few extra seconds. Still not dead. Justice Punch still doesn't kill him. On the back end, MMD's buying time. Somehow, SwordArt gets shut down. That's a big gold boon for the Marines. MMD continues to be a nuisance with the Idol of Durant. Keeps Stark alive. Here comes Optimus. Does not click the Glacial Frost. Betty's untouched as Maple has been able to rejoin the fight.
Yeah, I don't think Maple expected the fight to continue. He was actually walking away from the fight when the re-engage happened from the Flash Wolves. A lot of credit to SwordArt despite dying. He played that engage perfectly. Because as soon as Optimus came in, he whimsied him, so he couldn't actually knock out Maple. Maple!
Archie playing the bait. Did Baron help? Did Baron help? No, the auto did not follow Maple through.
Yeah, good flash there from Maple to get out of range.
I think it would have killed him actually if Baron had tagged him.
Good engage though. I like it again. Gigabyte Marines, you know, you're down almost 10k gold at 25 minutes. Doesn't matter. You need to engage to get back in this game. And you want to do it as early as possible. Because again, your late game can be tricky to play with Lissandra.
And you want to do it in the jungle before Flash Wolves have set up, before they're ready for it. You know, the element of surprise still slightly working in their favor. Although it's a very small amount of gold that they got back for themselves. Much more of a moral victory though.
Right. It's kind of crazy that Optimus actually found a way to flank. When Flash Wolves are this far ahead and have been sitting in that jungle for quite some time, they should have everything warded so they can see any sort of like movement or teleport and then be ready to disengage. In the end though, they lose one guy, but they're still super far ahead. And it's kind of the same play now. Set up Baron, enemy jungle, use that Baron to kind of bait Gigabyte Marines to stay around and then find one engage to fight.
And I love looking at the inventory and seeing control wards in Flash Wolves inventories time and time again. Just exceptional use of vision. I can get my words out. As we look across the map, thank you, observers, for highlighting it. Just, they have all the information to play with, and they've got a gigantic lead. So it's up to Flash Wolves when and where these engages can happen.
Exactly, and they should stick together fairly close range so that they don't get caught by surprise. They don't get picked off again by the Marines.
never a mistake from Flash Wolves. I'm going to need some opportunities to punish. If I'm looking at the minimap, Betty and MMD, I think, are doing a two-man Baron.
Yep, they've started it up. Slowly but surely, they shall be able to burn it down and force the hand here, but here they go.
All right, SwordArt is caught out once again. Self-casts the Wild Growth. Stark finishes the teleport. That means it's on cooldown. Optimus doesn't have his TP either. So the Marines trade TP for Baron.
And they defend really well here, Gigabyte Marines, catching SwordArt, basically forced Flash Wolves into a weird decision of, do we fight or do we stay on this Baron right now without cooldowns on our support? They decided to just back away, therefore Baron is still alive, and Gigabyte Marines are still trying to buy a bit of time.
And this is where the Marines need to really show poise, need to show some control. Because they are so far behind, the traditional Marine style that we've seen a little bit of, you know, go in and every opportunity, that will cost them this game. It needs to be the right time, the right fight, with the right information.
Yeah, and I think to your point earlier about, you know, looking for a mistake from Flash Wolves, I think Gigabyte Marines are looking to force a mistake out of Flash Wolves by having, you know, a really good flank engage from Lissandra. Catch the one guy who's out of position from the Flash Wolves and then get that early kill, because Lissandra is always like that shotgun, you know, it's one big hit at first and you need to kill someone then.
Of course, as you said early on, doesn't too much matter the state of the game. That's always what the Marines are looking for, trying to force that mistake.
We're getting closer to 30 minutes. I'm looking at the items. Void Stock, the Scepter, Protobelt for Optimus, and the other end, Lulu and Zekka, Morilanomicon, 7 stacks on that Dark Seal, and
it's not 10.
2, 4, 6, 8, 9.
But how many eggs are in that ring?
There are 9 controls.
Right now 7, you need 10. All the eggs in that ring.
What do you guys think of Betty building Phantom Dance? It feels like almost every game, or at least a lot of his games. Something that he's doing.
Against the Marines, I would Phantom Dancer for sure.
GA first item.
There aren't even too many, you know, people to actually get the passive on. He's got to auto attack whoever's closest to him because there's going to be a lot of dive.
I like it against Kha'Zix. I also think against Galio, you need to at least respect some of the base damage he does offer. So I think it does make sense for him. He's probably not expecting to get the triple hurricane hit on a lot of guys in these like very split up fights with engage from every side. They're rushing this Baron now. Varus is sitting mid and TP from Optimus is up and needs to use it.
The control ward in the back of the pit. Optimus is deciding to TP up into the tri-bush. All right, Marines somewhat split. Justice Punch is available for Stark if he wants to jump in.
3,000 health and counting.
Ash Arrow is going to tag onto Stark, but tank the front line. Tidal Wave will split up the Flash Wolves, but they continue to push forward. Chain of Corruption has also been fired. Stark on the back end is caught out by that Dread. Flash forward from Optimus, jumps onto Betty. Betty gets the Wild Growth. It's a fight on 2 fronts, but it's ended. Slay is still running for his life as Stark is sitting on the front line. 5 Flash Wolves are hungry for blood, and the pack aces the Marines.
Yeah, again, we can see how Gigabyte Marines wants to play their comp. Get in the backline with Lissandra. Kha'Zix follows, and then the Galio ulti as well. But when you're this far down and every single cooldown was available for the Flash Wolves, then it's simply not enough.
There's too much gold in the Flash Wolves bank, and they were able to get inside the base. Inhibitor down.
How long are those death timers? 20 seconds. MMD's going to tank up a few shots. And Titan's Wrath Shield blocking it up a lot.
Get in there, Archie!
Here comes Archie, 0, 5, and 5. Already been tagged by that Shatter Orb. Is this the game? Flash Wolves, Nexus turrets are down. They're focusing the Nexus turret, and they've booked a date. A rematch with TSM for a shot at the playoffs.
31 minutes. Felt like the game was over in 10 minutes after Gigabyte Marines opted into those fights in the bot lane. They completely backfired, both of them. Down 6-7k gold before the game even started.
Optimus on your screen a moment ago, looking shell-shocked as Archie is the first to greet the Flash Wolves and congratulate them. Gigabyte Marines are eliminated from MSI 2017.
But what an impact they have had at this tournament. Keeping all of the first place teams from all the regions around the world on their toes, second-guessing themselves, pushing them to the brink.
I think it's easy to say Gigabyte Marines have been the best performing team from the emerging regions we have seen at an international event, and I think Levi has been the best player.
and they have been rewarded. There will be a GPL team in the World's group stage, as well as another GPL squad in the play-in stage. Possibility to see 2 of these GPL squads standing up. And we heard the players all the way earlier today talking about how they want to represent Vietnam, and they've done that exceptionally well. Gentlemen, we'll get a chance to talk about Flash Wolves a little bit later, because they have picked up a key win here in Rio, and our analysts are standing by to break down this game.
Thank you very much, QuickShot. A wonderful applause for the Gigabyte Marines as they make their final trip off the stage here for MSI. For Flash Wolves, they've done what they needed to do to force the tiebreaker. European fans can be very happy because G2 does get slotted into 3rd place officially due to the tiebreaker rules. This means that TSM and Flash Wolves will play later in the day following our next matchup. Flash Wolves will also receive side selection due to having the faster average game time. So that's laying out for you what this game did in terms of the tournament. But now let's talk about how the Flash Wolves made their climb back into the top 4 in what was a very up and down tournament for this squad.
Yeah, European fans can be happy, but unbiased analysts, of course, saw a great game, honestly, decided by 2 team fights.
That's true. I mean, and this one, honestly, it was one team fight, right? It was right off the bat. You know, Gigabyte Marines, they're known for their super aggressive early game. This time, it fell so flat.
If you're going to go out, you got to go out this way. This one brought to you by Ace right here. The 5-man Ace coming through for the Flash Wolves.
Yeah. It just looks so rough. I mean, they don't even burst out SwordArt in the duration of the CC. He gets a wild growth off. Galio comes in, but look at Slay. It's like too little too late. He's walking back and forth. He's like, do I go in? Do I not go in? Eventually, he flashes. He's like, oh, God, right in the middle of 3 people. I did not want to be here.
And the biggest thing about both this play and the next bot lane play that they made is that this is a 5v4 for them, and top lane is being killed at the same time. I mean, they lost first turret to solo gold to the Graves and got aced, and you know, from that point, it's almost impossible to come back.
I mean, but this is the thing, right? Gigabytes, that's how they play, right? We couldn't really have asked them to do anything else aside continue to play their style. It was always full steam ahead. This time the coin flip came up the other way. But of course, you mentioned one other big team fight that came later in the game. Let's go ahead and take a look at it now. 30-minute game-ending ace here once again for the Flash Wolves. Prepo.
Yeah, and it's at this moment that the Gigabyte Marines were actually stalling very well, despite their very large gold deficit that they had. But the problem is, it only takes a Baron Force where there is no way out. And watch SwordArt here with a beautiful wild growth as everybody's collapsing onto Betty here. He cancels Levi's jump, and that is actually gives enough time for the exhaust to come in. And obviously, in the back line, yeah, the Marines can't do anything. When you're getting zerged by this comp, it's already too late.
And one thing you can say for the Marines is that they actually played for the win here. They didn't sit back and let the game be a slow bleed out. They went for an extremely unlikely play at Baron, but if you pull that off and you get the Baron, then you have a way to perhaps claw back into the game.
And just as kind of a final congratulatory for the Marines, I know they did lose this game, but they pretty much vindicated Vietnam here on an international stage. An incredible performance from them. They took TSM to all 5 games initially from the play-in stage. Coach Tinacum behind them, you know, revolutionized the Galio picks with the Ziggs. They brought a lot of fun to this tournament. They should feel good about what they accomplished.
And Stark, their top laner, is brand new to competitive play. He's been playing competitively for a little bit over a month now, including MSI. Wow. So that's pretty insane. And this team, you know, crushed their region, has a world spot for their region. Very likely it will be them. And if they continue to improve it, get better and better, they could be a real threat, you know, to get top 4 perhaps at Worlds, like you know, ANX was able to get top 8.
Absolutely, they need to recognize how close they were, right? This game goes differently, and they're still in talks for top 4 and a pool 1 seed. So good on this Vietnamese squad. But now let's talk about that tiebreaker that is forced, because as TSM and the Flash Wolves will have obviously 1 game's worth of time here to kind of strategize for what comes up. Flash Wolves with side selection, I think the assumption is they'll go blue. What are our initial thoughts on that TSM Flash Wolves matchup?
Depends who shows up. Both these teams have had games where they had a lot of issues closing. They've also had games where they had fantastic early games, like Flash Wolves have shown almost immaculate macro in some of their games, and then they haven't. It's really hard to call. It all depends how TSM took that like gut-wrenching loss.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think the biggest difference, though, actually is the vision control of both these teams. We just saw in that last game, Flash Wolves picked up 9 control wards in the back half, and we just keep saying over and over again, TSM, where is the vision?
All right, well, that match, of course, is the next one up after SK Telecom and Team WE hit the rift here. So while these teams have been fighting for survival at MSI, up next is this top-of-the-table clash between SK Telecom and Team WE. Stay with us.
who teleports it in. The Marines give up first blood. They give up second blood. They're not done yet. Slay has flashed in.
No one is dying!
Death shot knocks him into the air. That's 3 for the element. That's 3.
That could be an ace!
That's Wolves. That's a triple kill for Betty and the ace after a quadra to close it out.
Ah, the kill Karsa!
It actually gets caught down. They don't anticipate the damage. Finally goes down. Levi's able to flash away to stay alive, but Slay way on the front line. He overflashed, that's for
MMD!
MMD has arrived, flashed in. Levi still alive until Maple takes him down. Flash Wolves, Nexus turrets are down. Then focusing the Nexus turret, and they booked a date. A rematch with TSM for a shot at